All right, let's talk about something that's a huge part of the sales world, the product demo. We're going to take a look at a pretty fresh idea that completely flips the script, moving away from just showing off features and instead helping potential customers find their own answers. So yeah, let's get into it.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You're sitting there watching somebody click through what feels like a million features, and maybe, just maybe, 10% of it has anything to do with your actual problem. You find yourself checking your phone, your mind starts to drift. Yeah, it's a feeling we all know too well. And this, right here, is the perfect way to put it. The salesperson is so proud to show you the indoor swimming pool and the home theater, but you're just trying to see if there's enough closet space. It's a total disconnect from the very beginning.
Okay, so let's really dig into this. Why is this traditional, show and tell approach so often a failure? It's not just that it can be a little boring, it actually has some serious real-world consequences for everyone involved. What's really fascinating is how all these problems just snowball. Sales teams sink countless hours prepping and giving these demos, a lot of the time to people who were never going to be the right fit anyway. And because you can't really tailor a demo without knowing what someone truly needs, the pitches end up being super generic. This, of course, leads to frustratingly low conversion rates. But maybe the worst part, the buyer just becomes a passive observer, just sitting back and watching a show, instead of actively trying to solve their problem. So, what's the fix? What's the alternative? Well, it all starts with a really simple but honestly pretty profound shift in your mindset. Instead of rushing in to give all the answers, the goal is to encourage and empower the right questions. And this quote from author Hal Gregerson just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures this new way of thinking. The point isn't to prove how smart you are by having an answer for everything. The real goal is to create a space where the buyer can figure out what they need for themselves by asking deep, meaningful questions. That's where things really start to click. And when you put them side by side like this, the difference is just night and day, isn't it? The old way is a one-way street, someone presenting and someone else passively watching. The new way, it's all about collaboration. It's not a sales rep giving a tour, it's the prospect in the driver's seat on their own journey of discovery. The whole game changes from a pitch to a partnership. Okay, so that all sounds pretty good in theory, but how do you actually, do it? Well, turns out there's a really practical four-step framework that can make this smarter way of selling a reality. So here it is, the new game plan. First, you've got to build a rock-solid foundation. Then, you bring in a pretty powerful AI copilot. After that, you open up a playground so people can explore. And only then, at the very end, do you actually sit down and talk. Let's break down each step. All right, step one is the big one. You can't skip it. You need amazing, comprehensive, and super clear documentation. But here's the twist. It has to be built in a way that AI models, or LLMs, can read it just as easily as a human can. Think of it like creating the perfect map of your product that a machine can use to answer almost any question. This is way more than a user manual. It's the fuel for this whole new process. And this is where things get really cool. You actually encourage your potential customers to take your documentation and feed it into an LLM. By using this AI copilot, they can ask super specific, detailed questions about anything, features, how it connects to other software, security, and they get answers instantly. They're not waiting around for you to schedule a demo. They are deep in their own investigation on their own time. Look, reading about something is one thing, but actually getting your hands on it is another. That's what step 3 is all about. You give people a sandbox or a free version of the product to play around in. This is their chance to kick the tires, to see if what the AI told them is true, and to get a real gut feeling for how this solution could actually work for them. And it's only now, after they've done all of this homework and self-discovery, that it's finally time to talk. But this conversation is completely different. This is not a demo. It's a high-level consultation. Your prospect comes to the table armed with smart, specific questions, and your team can provide expert, targeted answers. It's a conversation between two equals. So after all that, what's the payoff? Well, this new approach really does create a massive win-win. There are some huge benefits for both the person buying and the person selling. First off, your prospects feel like they're in control. They actually understand the product on a much deeper level. For the sales teams, the whole process becomes way more efficient because you're not wasting time on people who aren't a good fit. This all leads to higher conversion rates, way more productive conversations, and most importantly, it builds a foundation of trust that can lead to a real long-term partnership. Which brings us to the big question you have to ask yourself, right? Maybe it's time to make a change. By shifting our focus away from just giving answers and towards empowering great questions, we can build a sales process that's not only more effective and efficient, but honestly, just feels more human.
And at the end of the day, that's what this all boils down to. The future of selling isn't about who has the flashiest presentation or the longest list of features. It's about trusting your customers, giving them the tools they need to discover things for themselves, and creating a space where the right questions can light the way to the absolute best solutions.